Hello, my name is Cade Williams, and I will be presenting on Frederick Douglass. Um, I chose this leader because I wanted to learn more about him, and I knew that he was a very important historical figure in our country. Um, he faced a huge crisis during his time. That was slavery. Um, he uh, he would tour the U.S. and the United Kingdom eventually, and give speeches and lectures on his views of slavery and why it should be ended. Um, he also wrote an autobiography which validated many of the events that he spoke about once criticisms came about whether people believed he actually experienced things that he spoke on. Um, as a leader, he was a very single minded person. He was very focused on his goal of seeing the end of slavery. Um, this affected many of his relationships, mainly of his wife Anna and his kids. Uh, he was also very observant of the times. He experienced different um, cultures in America and in the United Kingdom, and because of that, he was able to see how things were done in the United Kingdom and how things should be done in America to finally end slavery. Um, as a child, he had a very rough life. He was born a slave to his mother Harriet, who was also a slave. Um, he was separated from her as a very young child and sent to live with his grandparents, uh, who were in charge of raising many of the kids on the plantation he was born on, because for one, she was too old, and somebody has to take care of the kids. Um, anyways, he was also separated from her whenever he was 6 years old and sent to work in the house of his master, whose name was Aaron Anderson. Um, there, he was constantly underfed. He and the other children would race to a trough to eat as much boiled oatmeal as they could, and they were all usually still hungry after that. Um, he was poorly clothed. Um, he was only given two very coarse shirts a year, um, which he had to wear at all times. And then for when he went to sleep, he usually slept in a very small closet in the kitchen, and didn't even have a blanket or anything like that. During the winter months, he would use a corn bag, a little cloth bag that he would carry corn in, and he used that as a blanket. So, not the greatest uh, childhood by far. But, anyways, at the age of 8, he was then sent to the Auld family. Uh, they needed a person to help them raise their kid, so uh, they ended up with Frederick. Over there, life was a little bit better. He was given better clothing. Uh, he got some shoes. He was given a bed to sleep in at night with blankets, and he also had access to as much food as he wanted. He could just go in the kitchen and grab some bread, and just not be hungry. So, um, so it was a lot better. He would also run errands for the family and take care of their son, Tommy. And as Tommy grew up, uh, the mother, Sophia, would teach him to read, and Frederick as well. So Frederick kind of got to learn how to read a little bit, which was very uncommon for slaves during this time in Maryland. Um, but once Hugh, the husband, found out, that was put to an end because he didn't like that at all. He said knowledge is not good for kids if they're going to be a slave, which is pretty messed up. Um, Anyways, he ended up trading food with like other poor white kids to uh, get access to books that he would use to learn how to read on his own. So, um, then his the vision that he wanted to implement once he was freed was equality. He wanted the complete end to slavery in America. It was America was pretty free in the North. They still relied a little bit on slavery, but most of the slavery did take place in the South. But he would write articles and speeches after he gained his freedom, and just express his opinions on current events that involve slavery, as well as like just the end of slavery in general. He ended up starting a newspaper, which was a big sacrifice because he was going into this all on his own, and anti-slavery newspapers didn't really make enough money to support themselves during this time. So he definitely had to sacrifice some funds, um, and then he was also able to keep many of his emotions in check while he was growing up, and then also his time as an absolutionist because he learned, when he needed to speak out and when he needed to kind of take a step back. An example of him taking a step back would be when he released his autobiography,